The sun was setting on New Harmony, casting long shadows across the small farming colony. Captain Do-hyun Kim sat on his porch, watching the orange light fade. His old military jacket hung inside, metal still attached. He hadn't worn it in 3 years. "Another quiet day," he muttered, taking a sip from his cup. Do-hyun was 52 now. His black hair showed streaks of gray, and the scar across his left cheek had faded to a thin white line. Most people in the colony didn't know who he was. To them, he was just the quiet man who lived at the edge of town. That was how he liked it. 20 years ago, things had been different. Back then, he commanded the battleship Dauntless during the Galactic Coalition War. His name appeared in news reports across human space. But that was a lifetime ago. What Do-hyun didn't know was that his name still traveled among the stars, growing with each telling. On the distant world of Var Prime, in a temple built of blue stone, a young Vera named Lyra stood before the High Council. Her scaled skin shimmered in the light of 12 moons visible through the temple's clear dome. "The signs are clear," Lyra said, pointing to ancient markings on the wall. "The warrior of distant worlds has revealed himself. The one our texts call the Unifier has come." Elder Kren, his scales dulled with age, leaned forward. "You speak of the human, Do-hyun Kim." "Yes," Lyra said. "His actions in the Battle of Broken Moons match our sacred texts exactly. He is the one we have waited for." The council members whispered among themselves. Their tails swished nervously against the stone floor. "Even if you are right," Elder Kren said, "the human government keeps his location secret. They guard their war heroes well." Lyra stood taller. "I have found him. He lives on a small colony called New Harmony." "And you wish to go to him?" asked another elder. "I must," Lyra said. "The time of gathering approaches. If the texts are true, the darkness will soon follow. We need the Unifier." After much debate, the council agreed. Lyra would travel to find this human warrior and learn if he truly was the one from their ancient texts. Back on New Harmony, Do-hyun walked through the small market. He bought fresh bread and nodded politely to his neighbors. Few spoke to him, which suited him fine. As he turned to leave, he noticed 3 strangers watching him from across the street. They weren't human. Their tall, thin bodies and large eyes marked them as Gerillians. What were aliens doing here? New Harmony rarely saw visitors, especially non-human ones. Do-hyun looked away and continued walking, but he could feel their eyes following him. It made the old battle instincts stir in his chest. That night, he couldn't sleep. He sat by his window, watching the stars. Sometimes he thought about his old ship and crew. Most had died in that final battle. The maneuver he used to save the coalition fleet had been desperate and risky. No one expected it to work, including him. But it did, and now he was a hero who just wanted to be left alone. His communication device beeped. No one ever called him. He picked it up hesitantly. "Captain Kim," said a familiar voice. It was Ju-eun Park, his former second in command. "We have a situation. People are looking for you." "What people?" Do-hyun asked. "Not just people. Several alien species. They're calling you the Unifier." Do-hyun frowned. "I don't understand." "Neither do we," Ju-hyun said. "But it's serious. Coalition intelligence is concerned. I'm coming to you. Don't tell anyone we spoke." The line went dead. Do-hyun set down the device and looked back at the stars. Something was happening. Something big. And somehow he was at the center of it. For the first time in years, Captain Do-hyun Kim felt the weight of responsibility return to his shoulders. His quiet retirement was about to end. 3 days passed before the knock came at Do-hyun's door. He had spent that time checking his old weapon and packing essential supplies. Old habits from war never truly left a soldier. When he opened the door, he found himself facing a Varan female. Her scaled skin caught the morning light, shifting between green and blue. Behind her stood another Varan, older and wearing ceremonial robes. "Captain Do-hyun Kim," the female asked, lowering her head in respect. "I am Lyra, scholar of the Varan High Temple. This is Elder Kren." Do-hyun studied them carefully. Varans rarely left their home system. "What do you want?" "May we come inside?" Lyra asked. What we must discuss should not be heard by others. Against his better judgment, Do-hyun let them in. They sat awkwardly on his human furniture, their long tails hanging off the sides of his chairs. "We have traveled far to find you, great Do-hyun," Elder Kren said. "Just Do-hyun," he corrected. "I'm not great anything." Lyra opened a case she carried and removed an old book. The cover was made of material Do-hyun didn't recognize. It looked ancient. "This text was written over 500 years ago," she explained, carefully turning the pages, "long before humans and Varans met." She stopped at a page with strange symbols and what looked like a drawing. Do-hyun leaned closer. The drawing showed a figure that could be human, standing before stars that formed a distinctive pattern. "This speaks of a warrior from beyond our known stars," Lyra said. "One who would perform the impossible turn and save many lives. This warrior would later unite the galaxy against a great darkness." Do-hyun felt cold. The impossible turn was what the media had called his desperate maneuver during the Battle of Broken Moons. A tactic that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. "This is just a coincidence," he said. "Is this also coincidence?" Lyra turned more pages. "The text describes the warrior having a mark across his face, just as you do." Do-hyun touched his scar unconsciously. "Our people are not the only ones with such prophecies," Elder Kren added. 12 species across the galaxy have similar texts. All point to you." "This is ridiculous," Do-hyun stood up. "I'm a retired soldier, not some mythical figure." A sound outside made them all turn. Through the window, Do-hyun saw more aliens gathering near his house. There were Gerillians, mossbacks, and even a pair of towering Dren. At least 20 visitors in all. "They have come for guidance," Lyra explained. "Word has spread that the unifier has been found." "I didn't ask for this," Do-hyun said angrily. "The prophecy does not care what we ask for," Elder Kren replied. Do-hyun's communication device beeped again. Ju-hyun's face appeared on the screen. "I'm almost at New Harmony," she said. "Don't leave your house. There's been a development." Her expression was grim. "The Tarak Dominion has put a price on your head. They've sent hunters." "The Tarak?" Do-hyun was confused. "The war with them ended years ago. They fear the prophecies," Lyra said, having overheard. "The texts say the unifier will end their expansion. They would rather kill you than risk it." Do-hyun looked out at the growing crowd of aliens, then back at the ancient book with its impossible prediction of his battle maneuver. "I didn't ask for any of this," he repeated quietly. "Few who change history ever do," Elder Kren said. A distant sound of engines grew louder. Do-hyun recognized the hum of a military shuttle. "Ju-hyun is here," he said, "and we're leaving. If hunters are coming, this colony isn't safe while I'm here." "We will accompany you," Lyra stated firmly. "The prophecy must be fulfilled." Do-hyun wanted to argue, but there wasn't time. He grabbed his packed bag and the weapon he'd prepared. "Fine," he said, "but understand this. I'm not your mythical warrior. I'm just trying to keep people safe." Lyra and Elder Kren exchanged looks, but said nothing as they followed him out the back door, away from the growing crowd of alien pilgrims. Ju-hyun Park's military shuttle landed in a field behind Do-hyun's house. Even after 3 years, she looked exactly as he remembered. Sharp eyes, short black hair, and the calm face of someone who had seen too much war. "Captain," she said with a quick salute when she saw him. Then she noticed the 2 Varans. "I see you've already met some of your followers." "They're not my followers," Do-hyun said firmly. Ju-hyun smiled slightly. "Tell that to the 50 aliens who have landed on this colony in the past week." She led them onto the shuttle, checking the sky nervously. We need to move quickly. Our intelligence suggests Terrak hunters are less than a day behind me. Inside the shuttle, Elder Kren settled into a seat while Lyra examined the human technology with interest. Du Hyun sat beside Ju Yun at the controls. "Explain everything," he said as the shuttle lifted off. Ju Yun guided the ship upward, breaking through the clouds. About 6 months ago, Coalition intelligence noticed unusual movement among alien religious groups. They were all studying ancient texts about a warrior figure. Then someone made the connection to you and the Battle of Broken Moons. "That's impossible," Du Hyun said. "These prophecies were written centuries ago." "That's what makes this so strange," Ju Yun agreed. "Look at this." She activated a screen showing alien text side by side with images of Du Hyun's famous battle. 12 different species have prophecies that match your battle tactics exactly, she explained. Even the damage pattern on the enemy fleet is predicted. The statistical probability of this being coincidence is basically 0. Do Hyun stared at the screen. "I don't believe in prophecies." "Neither do I," Ju Yun said. "But I believe in facts. And the fact is, something impossible is happening." The shuttle shook suddenly. Warning lights flashed red. "We've got company," Ju Yun shouted, checking her radar. "Terek attack ship." Through the view screen, Du Hyun saw a black, angular ship approaching fast. Its weapons were charging. "They found us already." Du Hyun grabbed the secondary controls. "How?" "They must have planted trackers in the colony," Ju Yun said, pushing the shuttle into a steep dive. "I'm sorry, I wasn't careful enough." The Terek ship fired. Energy beams cut through the air around them. Du Hyun accessed the shuttle's defense systems. "Our weapons are locked down. Safety protocols for civilian colonies." "I can override that," Ju Yun said, her fingers flying across the control panel. "But it will take time." Another hit rocked the shuttle. Lyra and Elder Kren held onto their seats, their scales pale with fear. "We won't last that long," Du Hyun said. He studied the Terek ship's attack pattern. It was familiar, standard military training. Predictable. "I have an idea," he said. "Give me flight control." Ju Yun hesitated for only a second before switching command to Du Hyun's station. "It's your show, Captain." Do Hyun took the controls and banked the shuttle hard right. The Terek ship followed, just as he expected. He dove toward the planet's moon, using its gravity to accelerate. "What are you doing?" Ju Yun asked, watching the pursuing ship gaining on them. "Something stupid," Du Hyun replied. He flew directly at a field of space debris orbiting the moon. At the last possible moment, he cut the main engines and fired only the right thrusters, sending the shuttle into a spinning slide through the debris. The Terek ship tried to follow but couldn't match the maneuver. A large piece of metal tore through its left wing. The enemy ship spiraled out of control, disappearing behind the moon. That was. Ju Yun seemed at a loss for words. "The minor turn," Lyra whispered in awe. "Just as the texts describe. A spinning dance through the sky stones." Do Hyun ignored her and reactivated the main engines. "They'll send more ships." "Where are we going?" "Coalition headquarters on New Earth," Ju Yun said. "Director He Jun wants to meet you himself." He Jun Choi, the head of intelligence. Du Hyun frowned. "This is bigger than I thought." "It's bigger than any of us thought," Ju Yun said quietly. "The Terek Dominion is mobilizing their entire fleet. They're afraid of what these prophecies mean." As the shuttle accelerated away from the moon, Du Hyun looked back at Lyra and Elder Kren. Their eyes were fixed on him with unwavering belief. The weight on his shoulders grew heavier. Whether he believed in the prophecies or not no longer mattered. The galaxy did, and war was coming because of it. The shuttle jumped through 3 different warp points to throw off any pursuers. Du Hyun sat quietly, thinking about everything that had happened. The retired life he had built was gone now. There was no going back. "We'll reach New Earth in 6 hours," Ju Yun said, setting the shuttle to autopilot. She handed Do-hyun a datapad. "You should read this. It's everything we know about the prophecies." Do-hyun took the pad but didn't look at it. "Tell me about Heo-jun. Is he still as serious as he used to be?" "Even more so." Ju-hyun smiled slightly. "But he's fair. He's been protecting you, keeping your location secret." "Not secret enough," Do-hyun said. From across the shuttle, Lyra spoke up. "May I see the data you have collected?" Ju-hyun hesitated, then nodded. "I'll send it to the screen near you." Lyra studied the information carefully. "These translations are not entirely accurate," she said after a while. "The ancient texts use complex symbols that can have multiple meanings." "Can you provide better translations?" Ju-hyun asked. "I can try," Lyra said. Elder Kren moved to help her. Do-hyun finally looked at the datapad. The screen showed images from different alien worlds, all with similar symbols. One image caught his eye. A stone carving that showed a figure performing what looked exactly like his famous battle maneuver. "This is from the Gerillian homeworld," he said, "carved over 300 years ago." "Yes," Ju-hyun confirmed, "before humans ever left Earth." Do-hyun rubbed his forehead. "There has to be a logical explanation." "I've been looking for one for months," Ju-hyun said. "So has Director Heo-jun. We haven't found it yet." The shuttle's communication system beeped. Ju-hyun checked it. "It's an encrypted message from Heo-jun," she said, typing in a security code. "He's changed our meeting location. Too many eyes watching New Earth." "Where are we going?" Do-hyun asked. "The Orion Station. It's a research facility orbiting a dead planet. Very secure." The shuttle changed course. As they traveled, Lyra and Elder Kren continued working on the translations. Occasionally, they would whisper to each other in their own language, looking at Do-hyun with increasing wonder. Finally, Lyra approached him. "There is something you should know," she said. "The prophecies speak not just of your battle maneuver, but of what comes after." "What do they say?" Do-hyun asked. "They say the Unifier will find the gifts of the ancients and use them to save all living beings from the great darkness." "What gifts? What darkness?" Do-hyun asked. Lyra shook her head. "The texts are unclear, but they say only the Unifier can unlock the gifts. They were left behind by those who came before, a species that vanished long ago." Do-hyun was about to ask more when the shuttle shuddered. Alarms blared. "We're under attack," Ju-hyun shouted, rushing to the controls. Through the view screen, Do-hyun saw 3 Terek ships approaching. "How did they find us again?" Ju-hyun scanned the shuttle systems. "There must be a tracker on board. Something we missed. Or someone," Do-hyun said quietly, looking at their Varan guests. Elder Kren met his gaze without flinching. "We would never betray the Unifier." A blast hit the shuttle, sending sparks flying from a control panel. The lights flickered. "Our shields won't hold against 3 ships," Ju-hyun said. Do-hyun moved to the controls. "Get us to the nearest debris field or asteroid belt." "There's nothing like that nearby," Ju-hyun replied. "Then find me a gas giant, a planet with rings, anything." Ju-hyun checked the star charts. "There's a ringed planet about 2 minutes away at maximum speed." "Go there," Do-hyun ordered. As Ju-hyun pushed the engines to their limits, Do-hyun prepared the shuttle's minimal weapons. Lyra watched him with unblinking eyes. "You're going to do it again, aren't you?" she asked. "Another impossible maneuver." Do-hyun didn't answer. He was already calculating angles and speeds in his head, planning a move that no sane pilot would attempt. The ringed planet grew larger in the view screen. Behind them, the Terek ships were closing in for the kill. The ringed planet loomed large in the view screen. Its swirling storms and massive rings of ice and rock were both beautiful and dangerous. "Take us into the rings," Do-hyun ordered. Ju-hyun looked at him with wide eyes. "The debris will tear us apart." "Not if we're careful," Do-hyun said. The Terek ships are larger and less maneuverable. They'll have more trouble than we will. Zhu Yun nodded and guided the shuttle toward the glittering rings. Behind them, the Terek ships fired again. A blast grazed their left wing. Shields at 20%, Zhu Yun reported. Do Hyun took control of the weapons system. When I tell you, cut all forward motion and rotate 180 degrees. That will put us facing them directly, Zhu Yun said. Exactly. As they entered the rings, ice particles pinged against the shuttle's hull. Zhu Yun navigated carefully between larger chunks of rock. The Terek ships followed, spreading out to trap them. Now, Du Hyun shouted. Zhu Yun cut the engines and spun the shuttle around. The sudden move caused them to drift backward through the rings while facing forward. Du Hyun fired at the lead Terek ship, hitting its front sensors. Then he targeted a massive ice boulder floating nearby. The boulder shattered, sending thousands of pieces flying toward the Terek ships. One ship was hit directly and spun out of control. The others had to break formation to avoid the debris. Go, Du Hyun said. Zhu Yun fired the engines again, launching them through a gap in the rings. The remaining Terek ships were left behind, trapped in the debris cloud. Elder Kren let out a wheezing sound that might have been a laugh. The scattered stone defense, he said. Another prophecy fulfilled. Do Hyun ignored the comment. Set course for Orion Station, he told Zhu Yun, and run a complete scan for tracking devices. 3 days later, they arrived at Orion Station. It was a large ring-shaped structure orbiting a lifeless planet. Armed coalition ships patrolled nearby. Director Hejun Choi was waiting when they docked. He was tall and thin, with a stern face that rarely smiled. His formal uniform was perfectly pressed. Captain Kim, he said with a small bow. It's been too long. Not long enough if it means more trouble, Du Hyun replied. Hejun looked at the two Varens with interest. These must be our religious friends. Lyra stepped forward. I am Scholar Lyra of the High Temple. This is Elder Kren. Welcome to Orion Station, Hejun said. We have much to discuss. He led them through security checkpoints to a large room filled with screens and holographic displays. Maps of the galaxy showed red dots spreading from Terek space. The Terek Dominion is mobilizing, Hejun explained. They've increased military activity by 300% in the last month. Because of me? Du Hyun asked in disbelief. Because of what you represent, Hejun corrected. These prophecies have existed for centuries across 12 different species. The Terek have their own version, but in theirs, the Unifier brings destruction to their empire. So they want to kill me before I can do whatever it is I'm supposed to do, Du Hyun said. Precisely. Lyra moved to one of the screens showing ancient texts. There is a place mentioned in all versions of the prophecy, she said. A library of knowledge left by the ancients. Hejun nodded. We believe we found it. A hidden structure on the Varen sacred world. My people have guarded this place for generations, Elder Kren said, but none have been able to enter its inner chambers. According to the prophecies, only the Unifier can open the way, Lyra added. Do Hyun looked at the images of the ancient library. Something about its design seemed familiar, like a half-remembered dream. What do you expect to find there? He asked. Answers, Hejun said simply. And hopefully, a way to prevent a galaxy-wide war. Do Hyun stared at the expanding red dots on the map. Millions of lives would be lost if the Terek attacked. And somehow, he was the key to stopping it. When do we leave? He asked. Tomorrow, Hejun said. A stealth ship is being prepared. As they left the room, Zhu Yun fell into step beside Du Hyun. You're starting to believe the prophecies, aren't you? She asked quietly. Do Hyun didn't answer. But deep inside, he was beginning to wonder if some things were beyond simple explanation, and that thought terrified him more than any Terek fleet. The Varen sacred world was a place of blue oceans and purple forests. The stealth ship landed in a clearing surrounded by tall, spiral-shaped trees. Du-hyun, Ju-dun, Hejun, Lyra, and Elder Kren stepped out into warm, sweet-smelling air. "The library is this way," Lyra said, pointing toward distant mountains. "It is a half-day walk." They followed a stone path that wound through the forest. Strange animals watched them from the branches. Some had 6 legs, others had wings that sparkled in the sunlight. "Our people have protected this path for thousands of years," Elder Kren explained. "Few outsiders have ever walked it." Do-hyun walked beside Ho-jun, who carried a small scanner. "Any sign of Terek ships?" he asked quietly. "Not yet," Ho-jun replied. "But they'll find us eventually. We need to work quickly." By midday, they reached the mountains. The path led to a huge stone door set into the rock face. Ancient symbols covered its surface. They matched the ones from the prophecy texts. "Many have tried to open this door," Lyra said. "None have succeeded." Do-hyun approached the door cautiously. As he got closer, some of the symbols began to glow with a soft blue light. He reached out and touched one that looked like a spiral. The ground shook. Slowly, the massive stone door slid open, revealing a dark passage. "It recognizes you," Lyra whispered in awe. They entered the passage, using lights to guide their way. The walls were covered with more symbols. After walking for several minutes, they emerged into a vast circular chamber. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness. At the center stood a platform with a glowing blue pillar. "This is it," Hejun said, scanning the room. "The technology readings are off the charts." Around the chamber's edges were alcoves filled with devices of unknown design. Some looked like weapons, others like tools or machines. All had the same strange symbols on them. "The gifts of the ancients," Elder Kren said reverently. Do-hyun approached the central platform. The blue pillar pulsed brighter as he got closer, as if responding to his presence. "Be careful," Ju-hyun warned. Do-hyun stepped onto the platform. Instantly, lines of light shot out from the pillar, connecting to symbols on the walls. The entire chamber came alive with glowing patterns. Then a beam of light struck Do-hyun directly in the forehead. He gasped and froze in place. "Do-hyun!" Ju-hyun rushed forward, but an invisible barrier stopped her. Inside Do-hyun's mind, images flashed rapidly. He saw a highly advanced species, tall beings of light who traveled between galaxies. He saw them discovering a threat from beyond the known universe, a darkness that consumed everything it touched. He saw them seeding worlds with life, creating the 12 species mentioned in the prophecies. He saw them hiding their technology in secret places, programming it to activate only when a specific pattern of events occurred. The pattern Do-hyun had unknowingly fulfilled with his battle maneuver. They hadn't specifically chosen him. They had created a lock that could only be opened by a certain key. Actions that demonstrated tactical brilliance, courage, and sacrifice. When Do-hyun performed the impossible turn in battle, he had accidentally become that key. The beam of light disappeared. Do-hyun collapsed to his knees, gasping. "What happened?" Hejun asked as the barrier vanished, and they rushed to his side. "I saw them," Do-hyun said, his voice shaking. "The ancients. They left these things as a safeguard against something they called the Void Eaters. The great darkness from the prophecies," Lyra said. "They're not prophecies," Do-hyun realized. "They're instructions, warnings." Before he could explain further, the ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. "We've got company," Hejun said, checking his scanner. "Multiple Terek ships have entered the atmosphere. They're bombing the area." Another explosion rocked the chamber. A section of wall collapsed. "We need to get these devices out of here," Do-hyun said, standing up. He moved with new purpose, as if guided by invisible hands. "They're the only hope against what's coming." "And what exactly is coming?" Ju-hyun asked. Do-hyun looked at her with eyes that seemed older somehow. "Something far worse than the Terek. Something that's been waiting at the edge of the galaxy for millennia." Another explosion shook the ancient library. Pieces of the ceiling crashed down around them. We need to leave now, Hojun said, checking his scanner. The Terek are sending ground troops. Do-hyun moved quickly to one of the alcoves. Inside was a small device shaped like a disc with a glowing center. Somehow, he knew exactly what it was. This is a beacon, he said, picking it up. It will lead us to the other hidden caches. How do you know that? Ju-hyun asked. The ancients showed me, Do-hyun replied. Not everything, just flashes. They left their knowledge in these devices, programmed to activate when the right person found them. Lyra approached another alcove. What about these other devices? We cannot leave them for the Terek. We don't have time to take everything, Hojun said as the building shook again. Do-hyun looked around quickly. His eyes fell on a small silver sphere in a nearby alcove. Again, knowledge flowed into his mind. That one, he said, pointing. It's a shield generator. It can protect our ship. Ju-hyun grabbed the sphere while Hojun took several smaller devices that looked like weapons. This way, Elder Kren called, pointing to a passage at the far side of the chamber. There is another exit. They ran through the passage as the library continued to collapse around them. The tunnel led them out onto a ledge overlooking a valley. Below, they could see Terek ships landing and troops moving toward the mountain. Our ship is on the other side of those troops, Hojun said grimly. Do-hyun looked at the sphere Ju-hyun was carrying. Give me that. He held the device in his hands and closed his eyes. The sphere began to glow, then floated up and expanded into a shimmering bubble around all of them. What is this? Ju-hyun asked, reaching out to touch the bubble's surface. Camouflage shield, Do-hyun explained. It will make us invisible and mask our heat signatures. They made their way down the mountain, staying hidden within the shield. Terek soldiers walked right past them without noticing. Eventually, they reached their ship and slipped aboard. Once they were safely in orbit, Hojun contacted Coalition headquarters using a secure channel. The situation has escalated, he reported. The Terek have declared open war against all species mentioned in the prophecies. They're claiming that Captain Kim is a false prophet leading people to destruction. They're half right, Do-hyun said. I'm not a prophet. But the threat is real. What exactly did you see in that beam of light? Ju-hyun asked. Do-hyun closed his eyes, recalling the images. The ancients discovered that our galaxy was on a collision course with another dimension, a place they called the Void. Beings live there that feed on energy, any kind of energy, including life. The Void Eaters, Lyra whispered. Yes, the ancients knew they couldn't stop it completely, but they created a network of defense systems across the galaxy. They just needed someone to activate them when the time came. And that time is now, Hojun asked. Do-hyun nodded. The beacon shows locations of 12 more caches, one for each species in the prophecies. We need to gather them all to complete the network. We cannot do this alone, Elder Kren said. We need representatives from all 12 species. The Coalition can help with that, Hojun said. But it won't be easy with the Terek hunting us. Do-hyun looked at the beacon in his hand. Its light pulsed steadily, pointing toward distant stars. We don't have a choice, he said. The void breach has already begun. The ancients calculated it would take about 3,000 years from when they left these warnings. That time is almost up. Ju-hyun placed a hand on his shoulder. You never asked for this burden. No one ever asks for destiny, Lyra said. It finds those who can bear it. Do-hyun looked out at the stars. He had spent years trying to forget the war, to live quietly and alone. Now the fate of everything rested on his shoulders. Set course for the nearest cache location, he told Ju-hyun. It's time to gather our allies. As the ship jumped to warp speed, Do-hyun felt something he hadn't felt since the war. Purpose. The retired soldier was gone. In his place stood a man with a galaxy to save. Over the next 3 weeks, Do-hyun's team raced across the galaxy. They gathered 4 more ancient devices and representatives from 7 of the 12 species. Word spread quickly, and ships from various worlds joined their growing fleet. But the Terek were always close behind. Their massive warships attacked whenever they found Du Hyun's location. The Terek Empire had committed its entire military to stopping him. "We've lost another scout ship," Ju Hyun reported as she entered the command room of their new flagship. The coalition had provided a larger vessel to accommodate their growing mission. Do Hyun stood at the main console, studying the star map. The beacon showed their next target, a system with 7 planets circling a red dwarf star. "The 7-world system," Lyra said, joining them. "It holds the most powerful of the ancient devices, according to our texts. It's also deep in Tarak space," Hajun pointed out. "They've set up a blockade around the entire system." Do Hyun zoomed in on the map. Dozens of Tarak warships surrounded the system. "How many ships do we have now?" he asked. 27 combat vessels and 15 support ships," Ju Hyun answered. "Crews from 9 different species, but the Tarak have over 100 ships at that blockade." Do Hyun closed his eyes, thinking. Since connecting with the ancient library, he occasionally received flashes of insight, as if the knowledge was slowly filtering into his mind. "The device in that system is different from the others," he said. "It's not just a piece of the defense network. It's the control center." "How do you know this?" Hajun asked. "I just do," Du Hyun said. "And I know we need it before the void breach widens." The ship's communication system chimed. A message from Coalition headquarters appeared on screen. "The Terek have attacked 3 more border worlds," Hajun read. "Their fleet is spreading thin, trying to find us and hold their territory at the same time." Do Hyun studied the blockade again. "That's it," he said suddenly. "They've made the same mistake they made at the Battle of Broken Moons. Their formation has a weakness." He pointed to a section of the blockade where the ships were spread further apart. "Here, if we hit this point with everything we have, we can break through." "Even if we break through," Ju Hyun said, "how will we get back out?" "We won't need to," Du Hyun replied. "Once we activate the control center, we can use it against the Terek fleet." The plan was set. They would attack in 12 hours. As they prepared, representatives from each species gathered in the ship's main hall. Du Hyun addressed them all. "I know many of you came because of prophecies about me," he said. "But I'm not a chosen one or a savior. I'm just someone who was in the right place at the right time. What matters now is not the myths, but what we do together." The attack began at exactly the planned moment. Their fleet accelerated toward the weak point in the Terek blockade. The enemy responded immediately, ships moving to intercept them. "They're taking the bait," Ju Hyun said from her station. As the Terek ships moved, Du Hyun gave the order. "Now." Their fleet suddenly split into 3 groups, confusing the Terek commanders. Du Hyun's flagship accelerated to maximum speed, heading straight for the gap that had opened in the blockade. "They're firing," someone shouted. Energy beams streaked through space. 2 of their ships exploded. But the maneuver was working. The Terek ships couldn't reposition quickly enough. "Almost there," Ju Hyun said. A massive blast hit their ship. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. Hajun was thrown across the bridge, blood streaming from a head wound. "Shields at 12%, a crew member reported. "Keep going," Du Hyun ordered. Their ship broke through the blockade, followed by 5 others. The rest of their fleet engaged the Terek ships, buying them time. "Head for the 4th planet," Du Hyun said. "That's where the control center is." As they approached the planet, a Terek cruiser moved to cut them off. There was no way around it. "We can't take another hit," Ju Hyun warned. Hajun struggled to his feet, holding his bleeding head. "I'll handle this," he said. Before anyone could stop him, he rushed to the auxiliary control room. "What is he doing?" Lyra asked. On the screen, they saw one of their support ships break formation and accelerate toward the Terek cruiser. "No," Du Hyun whispered, realizing Ho Jun's plan. The support ship slammed into the Terek cruiser. Both vessels erupted in flames. The path was clear. Their remaining ships raced toward the fourth planet, carrying the hope of the galaxy with them. The fourth planet was a dry, barren world with towering rock formations. Du Hyun's ship landed in a deep canyon, hidden from Terek sensors. Above them, the battle continued to rage in space. Ha-Jun, Ju Hyun said quietly, staring at the floor. He knew what he was doing. He saved us all, Du Hyun replied. Now we need to make sure his sacrifice wasn't wasted. They exited the ship. The beacon in Do Hyun's hand pulsed faster now, guiding them to a narrow crack in the canyon wall. As they approached, the rock face seemed to shimmer and dissolve, revealing the hidden entrance. Just like the Varen library, Lyra observed. Inside, they found a vast chamber filled with glowing blue crystals. At the center stood a platform with 7 pillars arranged in a circle. This is it, Du Hyun said. The control center for the entire defense network. He stepped onto the platform. The pillars lit up, and a holographic display appeared above them, showing the galaxy. Red dots pulsed along one edge. The void breach, Du Hyun explained. It's already started, small at first, but growing. Can this system stop it? Ju Hyun asked. Not stop it, Du Hyun said, knowledge flowing into his mind from the ancient technology. But it can create a barrier, a shield around our galaxy. He placed his hands on 2 of the pillars. Energy flowed through him, connecting him to the system. Through this connection, he suddenly saw something unexpected. The Terek, he gasped. They're being influenced. Something from the void is already here, controlling their leaders. On the holographic display, they could see tendrils of darkness reaching from the red dots to the Terek homeworld. The Void Eaters found a way to send part of themselves ahead, Du Hyun explained. They've been pushing the Terek to conquer the galaxy, to eliminate any resistance before the main invasion. Can you stop them? Lyra asked. Du Hyun closed his eyes, focusing on the connection. I can broadcast the truth. Show everyone what's really happening. He activated the system. The 7 pillars pulsed with bright light. Above them, the holographic display expanded, showing the entire galaxy. Suddenly, every communication system in every ship and on every planet received the same message. Images showing the Void Eaters and their influence on the Terek leaders. Du Hyun's voice accompanied the images, explaining the ancient threat and the purpose of the defense network. In orbit around the planet, Terek ships stopped firing. Confusion spread through their ranks as crews saw the truth about their leaders. It's working, Ju Hyun said, watching the battle pause on their portable screen. Do Hyun went deeper into the system, activating all the devices they had collected. Across the galaxy, ancient technology hummed to life. A shield began to form along the edge of the galaxy where the void was breaking through. The effort was enormous. Du Hyun felt like his mind was being stretched across space. Sweat poured down his face as he struggled to control the vast network. I need help, he gasped. Lyra stepped forward, placing her hands on another pillar. Then representatives from each species joined, forming a circle around the platform. Together, they shared the burden, their minds linking through the ancient technology. In space, the remaining Terek ships began to turn against each other. Those loyal to the influenced leaders fought those who had seen the truth, but the battle was short-lived. Most Terek captains chose to stand down once they understood what was happening. The shield continued to grow stronger. At the edge of the galaxy, the red dots stopped expanding. The void breach was contained. Slowly, Du Hyun released his connection to the system. He fell to his knees, exhausted but smiling. It's done, he said. The shield will hold for generations, giving us time to prepare better defenses. Ju Hyun helped him stand. What happens now? Now we rebuild, Du Hyun said, not as separate species, but as a united galaxy. In the weeks that followed, The Terrak Dominion fractured. Those who had been most heavily influenced by the Void Eaters were removed from power. Peace talks began between all 12 prophesied species. Do-hyun declined offers of leadership. Instead, he worked quietly, teaching others how to use the ancient technology. The myths about him grew even larger. Songs were sung about the human who saved the galaxy. But when young aliens would ask to hear his story, Do-hyun would smile and say, "It wasn't just my story. It was all of us working together. That's the only myth worth believing. That together, we can face anything, even the darkness between worlds." And throughout the galaxy, people believed him. Not because of ancient prophecies, but because a retired human soldier had shown them it was true.